started. We got people here. It's so great. I'm so happy to see the both of you. Maybe I'll just Marlon and Will. Maybe I'll let you both, Marlon, go first and just introduce yourself, and then we'll get into our talk of the day.
Sure. I'm Marlon Weems. I publish the Journeyman newsletter here on Substack, and it is I always say I explore the intersection of the economy, politics, and racism, however you want to look at it. And my tagline is analysis and opinion with receipts. So, I mean, that's in a nutshell. I won't belabor it. That's kind of the story.
Yeah, it's a good story too. And my name is Will Fuller. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a paying supporter of these two gentlemen, these esteemed, distinguished gentlemen as well.
Thank you.
I highly recommend you guys do the same. And for me, what I do is I am the creator of what's called the Contraband Wagon. And my tagline is where I'm changing the conversation on race. And I do look forward to having what I hope is a somewhat unique conversation today with Walter and Marlon. Excuse me. Partially about race, but partially also about politics. So thank you guys for engaging with me. I appreciate y'all.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I know everybody feels it's a little bit of a whirlwind. It's like every single day, it seems like a year passes, and I wake up every morning trying to find my footing again, and so I know a lot of people. What even is today? Wednesday, and it was Sunday that the shutdown has been. Uh, they're coming up with this kind of unacceptable plan to stop the shutdown. And I know there's a lot of feelings of betrayal, and as we work through it, so Will, you kind of suggested the topic for today, so I thought maybe you'd just get us started off, and we'll see if we can find some light and some productive way to handle all this.
Sure. Yeah. Well, the reason I brought up talking about the betrayal because I saw all the news headlines, Democratic Party betrays this and that, all the social media headlines and stuff, and the word betrayal kept showing up. And I was just reflecting, trying to understand what other people are feeling, And Marlon, I watched you and Arturo as well, and so I was kind of like, all right, I think that my relationship with the Democratic Party is radically different than a lot of others. And it's really hard for me to kind of understand where other people are coming from with respect to this party because, there's that thing that people say, whatever, insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting results, right?
Yeah.
Well, I feel like we're so far beyond that with the Democratic Party. Like I feel like we've seen what they do, we've seen what they stand for. We have many years at this point of evidence, and they are not a progressive party. All the years that have been spent trying to move that party to a more progressive platform have failed in front of our faces. So it's very weird for me to see people still have an expectation that is a thing that is going to come to pass because I don't know what the foundation of that expectation is. And while I do know that the betrayal, to me, the betrayal is a betrayal of the American people. That's where the betrayal is. But I don't think that the party is betraying itself or its values or what it stands for. The party has been extremely consistent. So that is why it's very confusing to me why people place their hopes in the Democratic Party when what we very obviously need right now is something, if not progressive, which I think is definite in my opinion, but certainly something revolutionary to deal with the radical criminality that we're experiencing from the executive branch. So that's kind of my perspective on it broadly. And I really want to hear from you guys, because I see the disappointment, I see the frustration. I don't feel any of that because I didn't have an expectation, right? And so I'm trying to figure out what was your expectation and where are you at now that you see this?
Marlon?
Okay, so um, I don't completely disagree with Will in the sense that I was not betting the farm that this was going to turn out, in any. I was waiting for the other shoe. I'll put it that way because there's always one, and we had a similar situation earlier in the year, and I guess if there's something positive, you know, in March, Schumer rolled over like in 48 hours. So we did get a little bit more time out of it this go round. But I do kind of disagree with Will's assessment in terms of whether, indeed, the Democratic Party is not a progressive party. But if you look at where the Democratic Party was, say, 10 years ago, it's more progressive than it was. It's certainly more progressive than, if you want to go back to the Clinton years, which being from Arkansas, I kind of have, I was keenly focused on how they were essentially trying to turn that themselves into Republican light, you know. So, compared to that, this is more progressive, um, in large part because of Bernie Sanders and people like AOC and so forth. But my problem is not one of whether it's progressive enough or not, as much as it is, um, we got to get rid of some of these old folks. I'll say it because I'm the person with the gray beard. Some of these old folks got to get out the way. And even it's not so much that they are old; it's that their method of doing things is like the way it used to be 30 years ago. And God bless Joe Biden. He did a lot of good stuff, but that mindset of, I can just talk to these guys and they'll come around and they'll, no, we're not that. That's not where we are, and we're not there anymore. So, from my point of view, my disappointment with where we are now, and I'll just give this as an example, if you'll indulge me. The day that they caved, that was Sunday, I think, right?
Uh-huh.
Trump was literally getting booed out of a football stadium. We had just in the span of a week yesterday, we went from a blue wave to snatching victory from the or jaw what defeat from the jaws of victory. I always get it backwards, just because I'm hopeful. but but it's just astonishing to me. And the other thing, and I pointed this out with Arturo yesterday, sort of the baseline argument has been all these people are starving. We just couldn't have these folks not getting SNAP benefits. North Carolina got their SNAP benefits Friday. Had they not done this, um, Ketanji Brown Jackson has said, yesterday they extended this 48-hour drop dead thing that she had put. So Trump had appealed the first, jumped past the First Circuit to try to get a stay. She basically, gave an administrative stay that said, okay, I'm going to give the judge a chance to rule. He did. He ruled against Trump in the First Circuit yesterday, or actually around midnight Sunday night. There's a 48-hour window for Trump to respond. He says, I'm going to appeal to the Supreme Court. Because of what the Democrats did on Sunday, the Supreme Court now has said, well, we'll just wait and see what happens. If the shutdown is going to be over anyway, there's no need for us to do anything. Had Democrats not done what they did on Sunday, in the ruling that came last night, that essentially they extended an additional 48 hours to see if the shutdown is going to, materialize. In that ruling that came yesterday, Ketanji Brown Jackson said, basically, if not for the fact that Democrats had caved, she was going to rule against Trump, which makes the whole SNAP argument pretty much a moot point. So I'm just trying to process who in the room did not. I'm on an island in North Carolina. I figured this. I was like, why did y'all do this now? The timing doesn't make sense. So for me, it's not that I'm disappointed, or it's just that I'm not going with the story that they're telling because something else is going on because it doesn't make strategic sense.
Right.
I think that's such an important point because if they would just stop treating us like infants, and have honest conversations, and the fact that they're hiding so much, and then they come out and when we make criticisms, then they instantly attack us. They fight us with a ferocity that they never have for the other side. That's frustrating.
There you go.
Somebody's
I have
somebody
listened like the last 24 hours of people telling me why this is trying to convince me this is good.
Mhm.
And I'm just, no, it's not, look, it's not the end of the world for me, but it's going to be the end of, healthcare for a whole lot of folks.
Yeah.
And granted, I mean, even Lawrence O'Donnell, who I generally like, I don't subscribe to cable or, I just listen on Sirius. And last night he was throwing out this argument that, um, the people that are going to be affected by the premiums going up, it's only 6% of the population. And it's like, well, tell that to the guy whose premium goes up 3 times what it was. I mean, that's just to me, they're trying too hard to convince me this is a good outcome.
Mhm. And it's exactly what you said too. We've got too many people that are comfortable and they just don't understand. I think, a lot of these, I call them the gated community Democrats. They just don't
Mm,
understand. I mean, they've got their health care paid for. They haven't had to deal with that. They get universal health care, all of our representatives, the exact thing that they steadfastly deny us from having. So they just don't understand. So I really agree with your thought of getting new blood in there. But I think a lot of
yeah.
today's conversation needs to be, it's like, because I know everybody wants to be, where do we put our energy and where do we put our action? And I
Look,
feel
man,
like,
I'm not saying that we just bail, but it's just, um, we like I'd said to Arturo yesterday, we need a wartime consigliere.
yeah,
I'm a gangster movie aficionado,
yeah,
and it's like we don't have that guy. We got a different guy, and it's not. Now I don't know. Somebody says, "Oh well, who could it be?" What's wrong with Elizabeth Warren?
mm, mhm,
I mean, it'll never happen. But I'm just saying, it's not as though it's not as though Chuck Schumer is the best we can do.
yeah,
The
and
man can't even talk to you without a piece of paper in his hand. Like, and it's, I know, man. Look, it's, and I will step out on the age limb because I'm 67, man, and I know somebody suggested to me, "Oh, you should run for office." I appreciate the thought. But no, I'm not what we need. Guys like me are not what we need. That's just my opinion. I'm not saying that every person over 60 that's in government is look at Bernie. you know, I mean, he's doing okay. It's just that there's a mindset that is really delusional almost to me. And it's like they've got this vision or some memory thing going on in the back of their mind, and they're hoping, well, if we just do this one more thing, it'll get back like it was. It's not going to get like it was.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what's going on in these people's heads. I don't think I don't I don't think we'll ever figure that out. I don't think that what's actually going on and what's the mechanisms behind their decision making we're not privy to it. Period. I
I
think that
think it's a lot to do with money. Let's this.
I mean,
It's a whole lot to do with money
it's
too.
very clear it has to do with money. But what I'm saying is that we are. It is unlikely that anyone is going to follow the money to its source and figure out the mechanics behind the decision making of the Democratic Party. I don't think that's going to happen. But
I think it's situational. Like with Mom Donnie, it's APAC, right? But in this situation, well, there were
yeah,
two things that sort of jumped out at me, and one of them, you just have to know these folks are getting calls from the airline lobby. You just have to. I mean,
yeah,
and probably on both sides of the fence, and just from what I've read, there was this intense fear on the part of Democrats that Republicans were going to buckle and go ahead and just throw the filibuster out the window.
Yeah.
And I would like to know what you guys think. Let's say that Republicans had done that. How would it be different? No, I'm not trying to. I mean, I'm not being glib. What?
No.
Republicans are pretty much doing whatever the hell they want anyway, right?
This is. I mean, Marlon, I feel like we're very close in perspective. Actually, I don't think that there's a lot of distance between our perspectives.
Probably not.
Like, you're right. The level of lawlessness that we've already reached.
It's like you think the filibuster has something to do with this?
Filibuster, a toothless threat. So yes, and
my thought is, maybe I'm just. Is it Machiavellian? Okay, go ahead, get rid of the filibuster. You're not going to be here forever. You might not make it. You're not going to make it past the midterms. You're going to lose the House. You might lose the Senate, and it's looking more and more like they could lose the Senate. So yeah, get rid of that filibuster, right? And DC will be a state, and so will Puerto Rico. And I can think of 6, and you're going to have 20 justices on the Supreme Court. Right? Don't fuck with me. I mean, it's just that's the way you have to deal with bullies, though, right? Even if that's not exactly what you might have in mind, but for that to be what made just spook these guys, and now look what we've done, or they've done. Trump has really got their number.
The meme that's been going around is if a genie gave the Democrats 3 wishes, they'd negotiate it down to 1 and then wish for something the Republicans wanted.
I saw that, man.
That pretty much sums it up.
It's something.
But like this filibuster thing, I never thought that it would still exist to this point. I thought that was going to be gone the first day. So like what Will was saying, there's stuff's going on behind the scenes that I don't know. But yeah, like when a bully threatens you, all right, do it, is what you say because they're always going to threaten you with these horrible things, and we got to get past that. We got to stop listening to them. I mean, any abuser threatens they're going to kill your family before they start abusing you, right? This is just what bullies do, and it's like throw down then.
I have a unique perspective on that, Walter.
Go ahead.
As a guy who was a asthmatic, unathletic kid in a new town, you got to have some salt. You got to have the ability to really, because that's all you got is, I was like one of those animals that like swells up, when cornered, because that's all you got. It's like, I couldn't beat anybody up. And I just don't see why Democrats don't have like, at least a little bit of swagger or something, especially after last Tuesday. If you can't get like some swagger after last Tuesday.
It felt like they wanted to draw. It felt like the Democrats were mad. Will's opening his eyes because he's like, there it is.
Well, you're right. The wrong people did kind of win. I mean, so.
Well, not the Democratic establishment candidates. And so the establishment's like, hold on, let's not get all excited about winning our country back. Let's like take the air out of that. So, Will, your thoughts?
Yeah, because winning their country back, it doesn't mean the same thing to them as it means to us. That's what I was trying to tell y'all during the live day. Like, they're not in the same mind space as us. They're not thinking of moving the party in the direction that we think it should go right now. Like, I don't know the reason why. I don't think it even matters, to be honest. Like, I don't think that's where the conversation needs to be centered. Is like, why they're not doing what we think they should be doing. We already know what needs to happen at this point. The Democratic Party, in my opinion, has shown very clearly that they are not going to move in that direction no matter what. I think that what you said earlier, Marlon, that the party is more progressive than it was, nobody would argue with that. Nobody would argue that the Democratic Party is not more progressive than it was over time. I think that what I was saying is that they're not a progressive party. And I think those are
it's and screaming everything that's happened.
I don't think they will become a progressive party. It is not their intention. It's specifically not their intention. So I think that that is something that we need to accept, uh, because accepting that will allow us to actually put our hopes and our energy and our efforts into something that is worthwhile. People have been trying to transform the Democratic Party for literal decades. You know, I do not think that the party has become more progressive because of Bernie or AOC. I don't even agree with that. I think that most progressive moves that the party has made have been because, in their minds, politically, they were forced to do so, not because they thought that it's the direction the party is going and they want to move us in that direction. And I think that's generally how party politics operates in general. We need to use the laws of power in order to get what we want. The Democrats are horrible at utilizing the rules of power to actually create an outcome. And I don't think that that's something that's going to change. I don't really know why they are the way they are. So I'm not going to like psychoanalyze them. I'm not going to talk about how old they are or anything like that, even though I agree with what you said about their age. We need to get old people out. I think it all goes hand in hand with whatever the issue is, right? Like when you don't know how to let go of power, you're not really good at using power, right? Like Republicans, you can see they're turning over their power. They're bringing in younger
Oh
people.
yeah, yeah. It's
You know, as evil as they are, they have to like make these moves in order to maintain their power. And Democrats seem to think that they can just, inject themselves with drugs and be rolled around in wheelchairs and maintain power, and somehow that power is not going to fade. That's not how reality works. Not humanity. How humanity works. It's not how change works. And so I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what they're thinking. All I know is that that party is not going to change easily. Is not going to change easily, and I don't think that there's a power out there right now that can actually transform that party into something useful for this time. Um, I I think that it's time that we seriously start considering another party, like actually seriously. I think that it's not just because of the Democrats either. It's because Republicans have lost their way as well. There's a lot of people who I have always identified as Republican who feel like they have no idea what politics is about anymore. They don't know what this cult following is about. They don't know what this is, and they feel completely politically homeless. It's the best time, in my opinion, to give people another option from both sides of the aisle to come together and create America's party for real. Maybe the party that is the new America, the party that is actually going to strive for the values that the country was supposedly always supposed to be imagining and working towards. Um, and I think that that would be appealing to a lot of people. Will it win? Probably not. But I don't think that Democrats are on a. We may win in the short term, but we know that conservatives and Republicans are long-term thinkers and planners. They will eventually get power back, and I don't even think it's going to take that long for them, given the way that Democrats utilize their power. So that's kind of my overall broad vision. And then one other thing I wanted to say is, and I know we're going to get there, Walter, but there's a reason why I focus on anti-racism, and that reason is actually heavily related to politics. Um, Politics, like I said, is about power, and the number one power of politics is propaganda. It's convincing people of things, right? It's making people believe certain things are true, whether they are or aren't true, but like making people believe them so that then, people are motivated and encouraged and empowered to act, whether that ends up being in their best interest or not, right? And as it is. Um, and so I think that anti-racism, right? It's new in a way, for people to understand what it is, why it is, and everything. But ultimately, what it does is it targets the centers of the mind that people have already allowed to be kind of taken over by white supremacy, the ideology of white supremacy to invade, if you will. And because race is a fiction that we're all kind of swimming in from the time that we are conscious in this world, um, ultimately it has definitely 100% certainly impacted all of us. And what politics kind of does is it takes advantage of the fact that our minds can be compromised so easily. And I really focus on anti-racism because I want people to start paying attention to how their minds can be compromised and how they have been compromised. By unraveling that, by educating ourselves on that, it's going to be people are going to be less susceptible to the propaganda, the BS that both parties are putting out, and more able to see clearly what our political future needs to look like. The Democratic Party has no idea what our political future needs to look like, in my opinion. And the Republican Party wants a tyrannical, authoritarian political future for us. I think we cannot rely on either one of those two scenarios, right? Like, if we want to create a world that is actually supportive of human flourishing, we need to another option. So that's my point on it.
Marlon?
How?
I don't know, but like first, I think we have to decide to do it first.
Well, I mean, I just think it's a lot easier said than done. I'm not in disagreement um, with you, but I guess where I kind of come down, and just so you know, I mean, there's a lot of talk. Well, in this household, I have been talking a lot about just dropping my party affiliation and just going, unaffiliated or independent, whatever you want to call it, for many of the same reasons that you've articulated. At the same time, that doesn't mean that I'm like, um, a potential get for the Republican Party. But it's more of a statement of dissatisfaction with the Democratic Party. So I'm not opposed to, um, a third party in theory. However, it's in the environment that we're in. Just the reality is, in terms of infrastructure, financing, all these reasons that we don't like, but they still exist. It's a pretty tall ask, and to me, introducing a third party into this particular ecosystem probably in the end dilutes Democrats and helps Republicans.
Yeah, yeah. But
Which is not what I'm not interested in doing that.
That's part of the strap, man, because ultimately this is what forces Democrats to act. Even if the third party does not actually work, right? It would force
it's one of those. I'm sorry, I interrupted. Finish it.
No, it's okay. I was just going to say it would force Democrats to actually embrace progressive politics.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, it's the threat. Yeah. So to that extent, I'm with you, but I'm not. I don't want to give the illusion that there's some replacement party that between now and to me, what's the drop dead date, which is really the midterms, because I'm not even convinced the midterms are going to happen.
Yeah, North Star says it'll just get Republicans elected. Republicans are going to get elected anyway.
Yeah, they're not. I mean,
including ourselves that somehow some future is I don't know what people are thinking. I honestly don't. I don't know why people think that we can somehow stop Republicans from being elected. I don't know why people think that somehow Democrats getting elected will mean that we're going to get progressive policy. Like these things, I just don't know where they come from because they don't take form in reality. So I don't know.
But you can't say that, man. I mean, or there would be no AOCs, there would be no Elizabeth Warrens.
AOC got elected despite the party. Now
I'm with you, but she still got elected. I got elected.
Right. And my point is, if she get elected without her party support under the party banner.
And Ramdani did the same thing. I mean, I'm with you, but I'm saying, had he run as a third party candidate like Cuomo did, I don't know. He had so much steam. Maybe he could have succeeded.
I think
in New York.
I think he could.
In New York. But that is just not. I'm not convinced that's something that you can replicate. And it's a great experience. The experiment is great to discuss, but in practice, I'm not sure that in some places maybe it could be accomplished. I just
Well,
don't see that as like a strategy to just really throw in with. That's just me.
I
I've thought about this a lot though, because Will's talked about it before, and I think it's really a fascinating idea. And I think one of the ways that it could be implemented is if a new third party, or even if they just called themselves independents, but they campaigned in these red areas that the Democrats don't even try to win. Because there is a lot of, yeah, Natasha, thank you. But there's a lot of places where just Republicans run unopposed. So if we could just like, I mean, we keep talking, everybody always defends these supposed benevolent billionaires like Mackenzie Scott.
Ugh,
Go and
don't get
go
me
and fund.
started on
I mean,
that.
like she actually is doing good work, but I'm an anti-billionaire guy. But go and fund a bunch of independent politicians to give people an option or an alternative in red states. Then you're not eroding, because it's a legitimate thing to say, well, we'll just be dividing the Democratic vote and we'll giving more House to the Republicans. But because there's like whole swaths of America that the Democrats don't even care about. They only care about their blue wall. Beyond that, they just don't care. And so, I mean, all these blue voices in red states have nobody to represent them. And Arturo Dominguez talks about this too. Texas is so gerrymandered. Democrats aren't doing anything about gerrymandering, and that goes to Will's point. But I think too, and when I'm trying to find hope, and I think it comes to this, like just our reporting, and gosh, Marlon, like you just being this accomplished person, and it's like I'm kind of getting into this age in life where I'm old enough now where people are like senior, I'm having my senior moment. But it's like use that power because people actually listen to you a little bit, and younger people can be because they've never known any other reality, right? So it's up to the older people like us. And if we change the voter, see, because we're being too easy when we're just like change the Democratic Party. That's like, okay, that's the shortcut. The long cut is the whole United States has to become a nation of integrity. And then we'll start demanding better representatives, which is a bigger ask, but we do need to have this 50-year plan, not the 6-month plan.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Some thoughts.
I agree, man. I agree, man. We need to think long term. We are like not good at it. Like we're just not. And like and Republicans like they've been waiting, chomping at the bit to like take away, women's rights, to like do all these things, and they got there. They got there because they were patient and steadfast. We we are not strategic in our planning and thinking. I feel like as a political party, and so I don't really know what we're doing. I don't know what this party is going to do with these recent wins. I don't know what they're going to do with any future wins. And to me, that's not a party that you can support in this time. How can you support a party that you don't even know what the heck they're going to do? Like I mean, at this point, when we're facing fascism, we should clearly have an anti-fascist party. We should have a party that is saying that we are against this, that we are fighting against this. And what we have is a party that sometimes says that, but then sometimes their actions don't necessarily reflect that. And then sometimes their words don't reflect it either. So we're getting all this mixed messaging because that's what the party is. It's a party that does not, they don't have integrity. They don't have a set of values that they're operating from that we can all rally behind and then support. They don't have that. So like what we end up getting is this sporadic burst of something that we can come behind. And then everyone gets behind it. And then everyone's disappointed. And then everyone gets behind it again. And then everyone's disappointed again. And I'm like, I just don't, maybe politics operating in the past that way was acceptable in some ways because we were making gains, like you said, Marlon. We were getting progressive policies over the course of a period of time that perhaps made doing politics that way worthwhile. We are no longer in that scenario. We are no longer in that way of operating. We're dealing with a fascist party that doesn't care about human rights or human life, and we're not fighting back against them effectively, and the Democrats are not doing that. They're not the party to do it. They're not the people to do it. And yeah, do I think that it's less likely that we could get a viable third party to actually control the outcome or something in the future? Do I think it's less likely that we can make that happen than transform the Democratic Party into a weapon against fascism? I don't. I think that it's less likely that we transform the Democratic Party than we create an entirely new party. This party has shown no uh, if anything, it's shown more interest in fighting against its own representatives than it has in fighting against Republicans. So I just don't see it. It's just personally, I just don't see it.
So you don't think it would be easier to get rid of? I mean, because when we say the Democratic Party, I think of it in two different ways. I think of folks like us that, assuming we're all Democrats for the time being anyway. And I think of the leadership. I think of Pelosi, who's soon to be gone, but Jeffries, and that corporate leader, that core. And I look at those as two different things. And I think it it's a lot easier to replace that core that isn't listening to us than it is to say, "Oh, to hell with it, and let's go start something else from scratch."
What's your foundation for thinking that, Marlon? Because we already that has been an effort that has been ongoing, like in front of our faces. Like,
Yeah, but well, you have to acknowledge though, it hasn't always been that important for us to be progressive. I'm a late comer to progressivism. I mean, I've always been what I would call liberal, but a lot of I would say in the last 10 years, progressivism has sort of gotten on the radar screen of most people.
Mhm.
Before that, I didn't really differentiate. I mean, that's just me. So,
Mhm.
I mean, I guess my evidence is where we were 10 years ago and where we are today. Granted, kicking and screaming, granted, it's not what the core Democratic Party wanted, but between the base of the Democratic Party, I would argue, is progressive. It's just that the core isn't listening to the base. And so to me, it's a whole lot easier to just cut out, get rid of these guys and put the people we want in there than trying to start an entirely different infrastructure and hope it works out. I mean, that's just me. Maybe I'm a little, you know, just negative. I just don't see. Look, I'm not saying it can't be done. I'm saying it can't be done in time.
I
If
I
the, if the
I don't think
idea,
I don't think anything can be done in time. I don't think there is a in time.
well, I think you're on the verge of being negative, man.
But I'm not. Listen. I'm trying to be a realist. Okay, like in reality, we elected a criminal to be the president of the United States. That's our
We didn't
actual.
do it.
Well, okay, but
I know what you're saying, man. I'm just,
country did, and we have a bunch of criminals who are protecting him, empowering him, and destroying our system of laws and our way of life. So that is our reality. I don't. I would love to believe that the Democratic Party is up to deal with that reality. Is up for it. I would love to believe. Trust me.
so here's something I wrote about a few months ago. And I think it kind of, so there was an article in the Wall Street Journal that I read, and it was talking about, and I think it kind of plays into what we're talking about. And the article was talking, essentially, it was saying all these progressive Democrats are a problem. And the example that the authors were giving was a woman running for office somewhere in the Midwest. I forget where.
Mhm.
I want to say it was Marcy Capture, and she's in a close race. I don't know a lot about her politics. I think she's in Ohio, and the thesis that they were making was AOC is over here and she's raising all this money. She's raising more money than Hakeem Jeffries. She's raising more money than anybody in Congress or in the House. And that's a problem because she's getting all this money from folks who want progressivism. And we're trying to get her to come, the leadership is trying to get the party to come closer to the middle. Well, that's not where people want to be. But the idea, and I think it kind of goes to the point that Will's making, the party apparatus is resisting what the people in the party want to do. But at the end of the day, in this game, I'm sorry.
I think what the voters of the party.
Well, that's what I mean. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I mean. The title of my article is "Why Won't Democrats Listen to Their Base?"
Yeah.
And the base wants what AOC is selling. You don't see an AOC, and this goes back, Walter, to what you were saying about where we campaign. I mean, she and Bernie were like getting capacity crowds in Idaho, and Wyoming and Montana. So there's at least, I don't know, 30 or 40,000 people in these places that like that message. But the core of the party just doesn't want that to happen. Back to what Will is saying. So isn't it easy? I mean, we're talking about what? A dozen folks and firing a shitload of consultants, and that's that's it.
Yeah.
That just seems easier to me than going and trying to start a whole new thing. Just boot these guys, or whoever they may be. And I know, Will, I know you did, but I'm just saying that to me is a lot easier.
I wish that were true.
No, look, and I'm coming at it maybe from a business point of view, and Walter, I'll shut up. It's a lot easier to take over an existing company than it is to have a startup and try to catch up. And that's kind of how I'm looking at it.
I think we need to do both of these things, and I think number one, I think we need a progressive media, and that's kind of what we're trying to create. I mean, this is as grassroots as it gets. These grassroots movements are what the people in power always fear, right? And first of all, stop making any donations to the Democratic Party. If you must, donate to AOC. Because if we can, I mean, AOC is really close to being big enough where she could break off and start her own party, But I think too, it's like these primaries, and like for the people that need hope, it's like we do have to go jump in to the primaries, vote out the guys that are in there. And it's like, it's not going to work like just for like the short term. It's not going to give us everything, but it's a start and makes us feel like we have some power. Being involved in progressive media is important. I love this idea because I'm hearing of people voting. People are running as independents in extremely red districts because the propaganda campaign has been so intense that there are people in red districts, they will never vote Democrat. They will never, ever vote. As much as the Democrats like to say, oh, we have to appeal to the right, they are never going to vote for a Democrat. And to what Will is saying is right. In those deep red brainwashed districts, run as an independent. Give people an alternative. So I think there's like a hybrid that works. It's like, it's not binary. It's not either or. All of these are good ideas. We have to implement all of them.
Yeah. And I think that, again, I'm not necessarily promoting another party because I think that party could win. I think it's a good strategic move in general for our country. That's my opinion on it. I think that time will tell, right? I think as things get worse in America, that people will be more. Oh yeah. I mean, this is just the start, right? It's only been a year of this guy's presidency. Like he's not gonna be out. He's not gonna be out. Like he's gonna continue to do what he's doing, and he's gonna get even worse. And the Supreme Court is enabling him. We've got 3 more years of it. By then, maybe people will.
Thank you for reminding me, Will.
His health is so bad. His health is so bad, though. I think a lot of people are getting back
he
to
could
like
possibly sleep through the next 3 years, though, guys. I mean, come on, real talk. I mean, this dude, he might sleep through half of it.
Well, to what Will was saying though, like the decisions they're making, I think there's a real thought because this Epstein thing isn't going away, And I think the stress of that, this guy pretends like evil people tend to not feel stress, or like because they don't. I was saying it's like in most presidencies, the president appears to age, and it's like in this presidency we're aging, but he's just not showing it. I think those Epstein files are going to be a shock to the system, and they can't hide them, I don't think. As long as we keep talking about them, if we continue to be a progressive media and get those voices out there, all these wonderful people watching, keep saying those things, and our whisper will turn into a roar, I think.
I hope you're right, man. I hope you're right, Walter, but it's hard for me to put faith in that because this dude is a mass murderer. He's openly committing mass murder. Like, I mean, if I don't see why the Epstein files would somehow bring some kind of accountability to bear. For like at this point, this guy is like evil incarnate. He's a walking
Yeah.
a black hole. Like so.
I don't think the Epstein. I don't think what we're seeing. I don't think it's happening so much as Donald Trump had. I already figured he's in there and he's done some shit. I think it's the other folks who we haven't thought of that are probably implicated in some way, even it might even be just a little bit. But there's a reason why the guy, that owns or owned Victorious with Wexler just turns his entire portfolio over to this guy. I mean, people, there's something going on, and it's not just Trump, and it's probably a lot of names we know, and both on both sides of the spectrum, and I think that's what's going on.
That is what's
in the background. They're like, this cannot get out.
This is the international sex trafficking ring. We know we know it,
right?
Yeah. One of the things I was talking about with Michelle Tahue the other day is how all these local media have been they're gone. Like there's not the small town newspapers. And that means there's not like these small town reporters who like go knocking on doors. And it's like, holy shit, this is a warehouse owned by such and such politician or whatever that's filled with young girls. So like this is just so important that everybody understands this. Like this lack of a media, and so many people in the United States were indoctrinated with that, big money, whatever's big is better because that's all only merit. We have to undercut that idea and just like remember, it's like even though it's not profitable to have like small town reporters like following leads and pointing out discrepancies in police reports, if we're gonna have a free society, if we're gonna be protected from evil, and it's like we have to fund that. That needs to be funded. And it's like right now we're funding Gestapo to go tie up kids in their underwear with zip ties and beat up U.S. citizens. Take that money and instead invest it in voices. And this is why I keep pressuring the Democrats. Like all these guys that claim to be good politicians, they need to be interviewing us. They need to come talk to us because the Democratic
Party.
What,
man? I have said that many times. It's well, okay, I'll toot my horn. Okay. How many people who look like me have my background? I've reached out, forget just politicians, even, we've had any number of celebrities that have kind of landed here and essentially, in my view, it's just sort of like a Substack version of what they were doing where they came from. Yeah. And, okay, that's fine. But it's an insular group. They're not trying to talk to you or Will or me, regardless of what our skill sets might be that could be additive to the conversation. Right. And so, I think that's, we almost have to like, it's media, it's politics, it's a whole thing. And so maybe I'll throw this out there instead of, and this is just kind of, what I've been thinking about. Instead of waiting on, I don't know, waiting to get on Jim Acosta's program, maybe what we should be thinking about is something from, just a progressive media point of view, is something more along the lines of a collective that that sort of replicate. Okay, so the free press, Barry Weiss, now she's at CBS and she's going to screw that up, but whatever. But and that pissed me off for a long time. I'm still not over it, but it also proves out that you can build a media company on this platform. So if you think about it from a proof of concept point of view, somebody paid $150 million for what started off as a Substack newsletter. Okay. So what does that tell us? It says that there's maybe money somewhere, and I have some ideas about it. Maybe I'll talk about it more, but just the idea that's sort of germinating with me is, okay, so I'm never going to get a call to be on MSNBC. I'm not going to get a call to be on, Don Lemon's program or, whatever, unless I go hire a PR agent. So maybe maybe we just build our own thing and let them come to us eventually.
I mean, that's my plans for my anti-racist. There, like,
no, we're gonna have a conversation, man.
Yeah,
I mean, I've spent some time on this, and it's kind of my thing.
Right.
But I just think, like Melody just said, just from the ground up. I mean, screw these guys. Why do we?
Yes.
Sometimes we can get so caught up in wanting to be invited to the party when what we should do is just have our own party.
And this is great. I feel like we kind of like come into at least an actionable.
Oh, I'm up to
idea.
something. I'm going to tell you. At full disclosure, I just think there needs to be, just as the free press was this conservative, whatever media company on Substack. Maybe there should be a progressive,
yes,
free press, for lack of a better term. Let's call it the Journeyman Network.
Oh, perfect. But I want to say too, because it's just we got to get people to understand. It takes so long to get people to understand this. Because I have so many people. It's like, don't support the millionaires. Just don't support the millionaires.
Are you purposely trying to piss me off, Walter? Man, I have written about that, and when I first started talking about it, I would get people that would comment and say, "Well, don't worry about how much money some other person is making," and it's not about me not wanting people to make. Look, I worked on Wall Street. That's about as capitalist as you get. I'm ashamed to say, but at the same time, it's not them that I sort of take issue with as much as subscribers. Sometimes we're our own worst enemies in this sense. We say we've left cable news because we didn't trust the message and all these reasons. And then the same people come here and you start paying them without thinking about the fact that you think they just came here out of the goodness of their heart. No, they got a deal. They could have gone somewhere else. They came here, and look, it may not be a money deal, but it's maybe resources. It's any number of things that we're not getting. Yeah. So it means a whole lot more when somebody subscribes to my newsletter.
Yes.
As opposed to, say, and I'm using Jim Acosta. I like Jim Acosta. I watch his stuff. I mean, but the guy's got, I saw somewhere that he's got like maybe over 100,000 paid subscribers.
Wow.
I mean, damn. Does he really need? I mean, look, I'm going to use a different example. Michael Wolff. He writes a lot about Trump. He comes on this platform, and literally in a week, he jumped ahead of everybody. Number one paid, because when you see these rankings, they're driven by paid subscriber growth. That's part of the equation. So Michael Wolff is on here a week. He jumps over everybody. Heather Cox Richardson, for a minute. It always fluctuates. But I'm just saying, why are folks throwing money at Michael Wolff?
Yeah. Yeah.
Nothing against Michael Wolff. I mean, look, hey, nice work if you can get it. But I'm just saying, what's the logic of that?
Yeah. People just have to be discriminating where they just, because I'll have so many people like, Walter, I love what you do. I'd love to support you. And then I go click who they're subscribing to, and it's all these millionaires. And it's like, those guys don't need the money. And they don't understand, though, too, because those guys come here to suck the air out for the progressive voices, because the establishment does not like the progressive voices.
That is true.
They're scared to death of grassroots movements, so they do everything they can to shut us down. But we're not going to be quiet. We have to keep going. But everybody has to come on board with this and stop supporting the guys that are also well off.
Yeah. There's a comfort people feel. Same kind of comfort people feel when they go get their latte at Starbucks, or when they go,
man, I'll tell you, I've had to check myself.
Me too, brother. We're all in there.
It's kind of a New York thing where Starbucks literally is on every corner. And I was most of the time I drink coffee at home, but I was meeting someone a few weeks ago, and just almost like by default, I said, let's meet at Starbucks. And she said, let's meet at the local coffee place. And I was like, damn, what the hell am I doing? Of course we need to meet at the local coffee place, right? But we
Yeah, but
just almost set as a default to just go to the brand, you know, like that Eddie Murphy movie, go with the name you know.
exactly. Exactly. We've been brainwashed to do that, right? We're in a heavily capitalistic society that wants us to go with the brand we know, right? And so I really think that's a big part of it is that people have, oh, I see that face that I used to watch all the time. I see that. It's just that's all
Oh,
that
he's here. Let me give him some.
overrides and it's that critical thinking, And yeah, I've had to and you kind of implied it too, that we've had to consciously, stop ourselves and think, right? And I don't think that most Americans
We just
honest
don't think about
ability to do that. And so, yeah, anyways,
Well, we
Walter.
saw that with the Jimmy Kimmel thing, The second you start canceling your subscriptions, that's the most power. Like
it.
where you
Dude,
spend your money
for
is
real.
number one. That might be more powerful than your vote. Please vote.
Well,
But
let me
also,
just say this, man. I heard this expression years and years ago, and I've written about it. There was a guy that used to sit next to me on the trading floor, and I don't know what we were talking about, but it was something going on that he did not like, and he said, "Well, time to vote with your money." I guess if money's speech, it sure as shit can be a vote too, right?
Oh
and
Is it
and
yeah.
I
not?
and I think the reason they're making things so economically difficult right now, I mean, the more they take all of our money away and they have more control then, because we're getting really close to the point where we won't be able to support these grassroots campaigns. So this is the last time. People need to wake up now. It's getting really close to too late.
I agree. I agree. This is time sensitive, and like we do need to create some kind of foundation for fighting back. Like it's so haphazard and disorganized right now, and that's not going to remotely be enough. So, yeah, like for me, and we didn't quite get to talk about it, Walter. I know we're running low on time here, but I wanted to talk a little bit. Maybe we could talk about this in the future, guys.
Absolutely.
Why I focus on anti-racism. There is a reason why I focus on anti-racism work. It's strategic. It's not just because of my personal experience or being a black person, or whatever else. Like it's strategic because ultimately it's so intertwined with the propaganda that creates a scenario where we don't even think about and we just walk into a Starbucks. It helps create the situation where advertising is like the only way that people know how to monetize things. It creates a situation whereby there's this rigid lack of creativity in terms of how to actually use power and to sway people's decision making. You know, a lot of people told me in my racism discussion group that, oh, we can't use economic power because there's not enough. We don't have enough economic power to rally to action. But what people don't understand is that if a decision maker thinks that it makes a difference, that's all that's required. It's not required that it actually has to have the impact that we think it will have. It matters if the person who's a decision maker believes that it will. And I think that people overlook that. These are like kind of strategic uses of power that people don't take advantage of because they're not versed in it. I think it's just, I don't know, maybe just years of being powerless. But ultimately, yeah, I think that how we use our money, if they see a small little impact, that small impact is enough to move mountains. And I think we do need to look into using that as a power, politically and otherwise.
I would argue that it does make a difference. Just ask Target.
Right?
Yeah.
That's exactly
I mean, look, the Montgomery bus boycott did not end because those folks just had a come to Jesus moment. It ended because it was hurting economically.
right.
And
Yeah.
so, we're poor folks are net consumers. I mean, well, this is a country of consumers, but you know what I'm saying. And it's just a function. I mean, it's a function of where you spend your money, and collectively, that's where you get the critical mass.
Yeah.
If everybody decides, you know what, I'm canceling my Hulu subscription,
Yeah.
Yeah.
they
Yep.
freaking feel it.
Even 10%.
Yeah.
That's
Well, when you have an economy, especially the market economy, is driven on short-term thinking anyway. So 5%, want anything that is going to affect, those quarterly numbers is a big impact. It's literally like make a CEO step down kind of stuff,
Yeah.
which is what happened with Target.
We we could do a whole episode on that. I was gonna tell people because somebody mentioned like cancel Christmas. Don't do that, but like go to estate sales rather than go to the like you can buy
Or just
stuff
the
for pennies
local
on the
company.
dollar.
You got local toy. I mean, at least where I am, we got all kinds of local folks that are just trying to make it, local vendors, local, you go to these vendor markets. Like, I've got this side business with my wife, and, rather than go to Lowe's and buy plants, buy them from us, that
She says,
little
"My bad." But
pledge.
no, it wasn't a criticism. But I think I mean, just have these conversations with the people you love and say, "Hey, look, let's all of us do this. These are the things I want." And like for $2, you get like some thing that costs $500. It's like you might discover, geez, this is the way to do. Why are we spending so much money on packaging? When we could get all the things for so much less. But yeah,
Yeah.
we're closing up on time. Let's do our closing thoughts here. Go ahead and start, Will, and then we'll go to Marlon.
Well, just as always, thank you guys so much, Walter, especially you for creating space for these conversations. I appreciate it so much to be able to discuss this. I've been wanting to discuss this for a while, so I appreciate you allowing me this space and time. And Marlon, as always, it's really enlightening to hear your perspective. And, I appreciate you sharing your wisdom. I'm going to be continuing following the journeyman and, yeah, keep producing amazing work. Both of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Um, yeah, you've been on my radar, or sort of on my, tickler I got to reach out to Walter. And so I'm glad we were able to do this, and we have to do it more often. I appreciate you inviting me into the conversation, and I'm going to keep on writing stuff and making folks mad. And I'm serious. I actually, just I'm kind of putting the finishing touches on this idea that I sort of posed. And you guys will probably be hearing from me offline, and we'll see what we can do with it. Word.
Absolutely, and the more people we can introduce ourselves to, and I know, Marlon, we're talking next week with Nick on Tuesday, I believe it is.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So that'll be a wonderful time, and it's just kind of nice to have one person you kind of know, and then we introduce the third person, and we keep expanding our network this way, and we keep combining our audiences, and we're gonna win. It's just because there's no other way, there's no other option,
Mm,
right? So we're gonna make a better world because our kids deserve it. So
indeed.
thank you guys so much. I appreciate you guys. Love you both. Thanks. Keep doing the work. Thanks to all the people who are here, and we'll see you the next time.
Thanks,
Great.
everyone.
Thanks a lot, folks.
Bye bye.